The first question says work out 6.3 times 2.4. So if we do 6.3 times 2.4, 3 fours are 12, carry the 1. 6 fours are 24, plus 1, 25. Add the placeholder. 2 threes are 6, and 2 6 are 12. 2 plus the placeholder is 2 because the placeholder has a value of 0. 5 plus 6 is 11. Carry the 1. 2 plus 2, 4, plus 1, 5. And 1 comes down as it is. Now for the decimal, there's 1 decimal place over here and 1 decimal place over here. So in the answer, there'll be 2 decimal places. So which means it's going to be 15.12. That is your answer. Question 2 says write down the value of 5 to the power of 0. So anything raised to the power of 0, whether it's 5 or 4, or like a fraction, like for example, 103 to the power of 0, each one of these equal to 1. So whenever you see some expression where it says something raised to the power of 0, whether it's a variable, whether it's a number, whether it's a fraction, its entire value will equal to 1. Hence, 5 to the power of 0 is also equal to 1. Then it says write down the value of 5 to the power of -2. First, I'm going to rewrite 5 to the power of -2 in positive power, which is going to be 1 over 5 square. In order to make the power positive from negative, we take the reciprocal of the term. So when you take reciprocal of 5 to the power of -2, that's going to be 1 over 5 square. Basically, we swap the numerator with the denominator. Every number has a denominator of 1. So when we swap them, it becomes 1 over 5 square. The reason why it's 5 square now, because when we swapped it, the sign of the power changes. It becomes positive from negative. Now we know 5 times 5 is 25. So 1 over 5 square is going to be 1 over 25. That is your answer. Part B says write on the value of 2 to the power of 5 times 2 to the power of 4 over 2 cube in the form of 2 to the power of n, where n is an integer. Now, whenever we're multiplying similar bases over here, the 2's are bases. So when we multiply similar bases, you add the power. So that means it's going to be 2 to the power of 5 times 2 to the power of 4 is going to be 2 to the power of 5 plus 4, which is 2 to the power of 9. So now what we have is 2 to the power of 9 over 2 cube. Now, whenever we are dividing similar bases, which is another rule of indices, we subtract the power. So it's going to be 2 to the power of 9 minus 3, which is 2 to the power of 6. Once again, when we're multiplying similar bases, we will add the powers. When we're dividing similar bases, we subtract the powers. One of the very common rules of indices. Question 3 says write 156 as a product of its prime factors. So 156 can be broken down into 52 times 3. This isn't the only set of factors. You can break them down into any set of factors. But I've divided 156 by 2, which would give you 78. So you could have used that as well. But I'm using 52 times 3. Now 52 is 26 times 2. Since it's an even number, so we can divide 2 by 2, and that gives us 26. 26 is 13 times 2. Once again, it's an even number, so we can divide it by 2 to get the other factor. Now 13, 2, and 3 are all prime numbers, which means these are prime factors of 156. So 156 is the same as 2 times 2 times 3 times 13. Now, since 2 is repeated twice, we can rewrite that as 2 square times 3 times 13 comes as it is. So this is your product of prime factors for 156. Part B says find the highest common factor of 156 and 130. So we just said that 156 is 2 square times 3 times 13. So let's write down the prime factors of 130. 130 is 13 times 10. 13 is a prime number, so we can't break it down, but 10 can be broken down into 5 times 2. So as we can see, 130 is 2 times 5 times 13. So now if we compare that with 156, we can see that the highest common factor is 13 and one value of 2, not both the values. So highest common factor will be 2 times 13, which is 26. Question 4 says the mean length of 5 sticks is 4.2 centimeters. Now I'll measure the length of one of the sticks as 7 centimeters. Work out the mean length of the other 4 sticks. So let's assume that the length of the sticks are x plus y plus z plus w. And the fifth one, which is 7. So x plus y plus z plus w are the 4 sticks. And the fifth stick has a length of 7. So since there are 5 sticks, so we divide their sum by 5 because mean is your sum of values divided by the number of values. So number of values is 5, sum is this, and this equals to 4.2. Now we cross multiply to get rid of the fraction. So numerator over here will be x plus y plus z plus w plus 7 equals to 5 times 4.2. Now 4.2 times 5 is 2 5s are 10 and 4 5s are 20 plus 1, 21. So this is going to be 21. Now we bring 7 to the other side to find the value of the sum of these 4 lengths. So 21 minus 7. And that's going to give us 14. So to find the mean length of the other 4 sticks, we divide this sum by the number of values, which is 4. So that means it's going to be 15 over 4. And that's going to give us 3.5 centimeters. We know 4 times 3 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. Add a decimal, add a 0 over here, and 4 5s are 20. So 3.5 centimeters is the mean. What says Nawal made a mistake. The stick was not 7 centimeters long. It was 17 centimeters long. How does this affect your answer to part A? So if the fifth stick is 17 centimeters long, so x plus y plus z plus w plus 17 over 5 equals to 4.2. So cross multiply, that's again going to be 21. So now that's going to give us 21 minus 17, which is going to be 4 over here. So for the mean, we would divide both sides by 4, and that would give us the mean of 1. So mean value decreases. That's how our answer to part A changes. Question 5 says the point P lies on the line AB. Use ruler and compasses to construct an angle 90 degrees at P. We must show all your construction lines. So whenever it says 90 degree or like divide the line into equal parts, you will do perpendicular bisector in that case. So to draw the perpendicular bisector, first step is to measure AP. Whatever the distance of AP is, you will open your compass to more than half of the distance You will open your compass to more than AP. So let's say if AP is 3 centimeters, supposedly you will open your compass to 4 centimeters or 3.5 centimeters. And then you will put your compass at A, the pointed part at A, and draw an arc above and below the line. So basically, when you put it at A, you will draw an arc over here like this. Then you will repeat the same steps by putting your compass somewhere over here, depending on what the distance. So whatever AP was, you will mark that distance over here on this side. And if let's say that's over here, you'll put your compass over here and you will draw 2 more arcs with the same distance that the compass was open to for drawing these 2 arcs from A. So once you've drawn those arcs, you will connect the arcs from the middle using this line. And you can check using your protractor that this angle will be 90 degrees. Since I'm drawing it roughly, so the line isn't passing through P, but your line has to pass directly through P because the perpendicular bisector will pass through P. So once again, to summarize this, you will first measure your distance AP. Then you will open your compass to a distance more than AP and draw an arc from point A above and below the line. Then you will mark a point on the right side of P, which is the same distance as A is from P. Then you will draw an arc from that point above and below the line with the same distance as the arc that was drawn from point A. Those 2 arcs would be intersecting above and below the line, and then you will draw a line right through the middle of both the intersections. And that line will be directly perpendicular to the line AB. It will be passing through point P, and it will be at right angle to AB. Question 6 is the diagram shows an isosceles triangle ABD and the straight line ABC. BA equals to BD. X is to Y is equal to 2 is to 1. Work out the value of W. So X over Y equals to 2 over 1, which means X is equal to twice of Y. So that means this is 2Y. And since these 2 angles are equal, this is also going to be 2Y. So we know sum of angles of a triangle equal to 180. So if you look at triangle ABD, 180 equals to Y plus X plus X. And since we said X is equal to 2Y, replace X with 2Y. So that's going to be 180 equals to 5Y. So that means 180 divided by 5 equals to Y, which is basically equal to 36. Now, if Y equals to 36, they have told us that CBA is a straight line, which means angle Y and angle W are supplementary. So if the supplementary, sum of W and Y will equal to 180, which means 180 equals to W plus 36. And 180 minus 36 equals to W, which is 144 degrees. That is your value of W. Question 7 says Manu has 3 shelves of books. There are X books on shelf A. There are 3X plus 1 books on shelf B. There are 2X minus 5 books on shelf C. There's a total of 44 books on the 3 shelves. All the books have the same mass. The books on shelf B have a total mass of 7,500 grams. Work out the total mass of the books on shelf A. So if all of the books together are 44, so it's going to be X plus 3X plus 1 plus 2X minus 5 equal to 44. So you collect the like terms. X, 3x, and 2x are like terms. So that's going to be 6x, and 1 minus -5 is going to be -4, equals to 44. 6x equals to 44 plus 4. When we bring -4 to the other side, it becomes +4. So that's 48. Divide both sides by 6 to find the value of x, which is 8. Now they're saying the books on shelf, we have total mass of 7,500 grams. So if 3x plus 1 books have a mass of 7,500 grams, let's try to find the mass of one book. So first, let's substitute the value of x. So 3 times 8 plus 1, which is 24 plus 1, and that's 25. So 25 books have a mass of 7,500 grams. So for one book, that's going to be 7,500 divided by 25. We know 75 is divisible by 5, and 25 is also divisible by 5. So if we do 75 divided by 5, that's 1, 5, 2, that's 15. So that's 1,500 over 5, which becomes 300. Because 15 divided by 5 is 3. So 1,500 divided by 5 is going to be 300. It says work out total mass of the books on shelf A. So books on shelf A are going to be 8. So mass for books on shelf A is going to be 8 times 300, which is 2,400 grams. That is your answer. So first, what we did was we created an equation for the total number of books. Through that, we found the value of x, which is 8. Then we substituted that in the number of books for B to find the total number of books which shelf B had. Using the mass of the books on shelf B, we found the mass of one book. Since all the books are said to have the same mass, so 300 grams is the mass of one book. They're asking us to find the total mass of the books on shelf A. Shelf A had X books, which means they had 8 books. So 8 times 300 gives us the mass of all the books on shelf A, which is 2,400 grams. The normal price of a mattress is reduced by 40% in a sale. The price of the mattress in the sale is 660 pounds. Work out the normal price of the mattress. So the normal price was reduced by 40%. The price of the mattress in the sale is 660, which means 660 is 60% of the original price. Since the price is being reduced by 40% and 660 is the sale price, so that makes it 60% of the original price. So 660 equals to, if we simplify this, cancel out the zeros. So that's 6 over 10 times x. X is the original price. Cross multiply 660 with 10. So that's 660 times 10 equals to 6x. 6,600 equals to 6x. Divide both sides by 6. So that's going to give us 1,100 pounds for x. Because 66 is 6 times 11. So the 6 gets cancelled out and this becomes 1,100. Question 9 says to cook rice, the number of cups of rice, x, is to the number of cups of water, y, is equal to 4:5. Use this information to draw a graph to show the relationship between the number of cups of rice and the number of cups of water needed to cook the rice. So since x over y equals to 4 over 5, we need to remember that the gradient is change in y over change in x. So if we swap this equation, y over x will be 5 over 4, which means our rise is 5 and run is 4, which is another way of finding the gradient. So 5 over here and 4 over here. So that means our line has to pass through this point. 4, 5 again, yeah. Over here, it's also 4, 5, 10. 5 to 10 is a difference of 5. And 4 to 8 is a difference of 4. So rise over run is once again 5 over 4. Next part, it says find the gradient of the line drawn. So gradient, as we identified previously, is going to be 5 over 4, which is your rise over run, which is y over x, and that's 5 over 4. Then it says explain what the gradient represents. So to explain what the gradient represents, gradient shows the number of cups of water required for every cup of rice. That's what the gradient represents. Question 10 says the circumference of a circle is 10 meters. Work out the area of the circle and give your answer in terms of pi. So if you look at a circle, circumference is your entire boundary. So this boundary is your circumference. This is your radius and this is your center. Circumference has the formula of 2 pi r. It says work out the area of the circle and the circumference is given as 10 centimeters. So 10 equals to 2 pi r. 10 divided by 2 pi is r, which is 5 over pi. Now area of a circle is pi r square. So you replace r with 5 over pi and then whole squared. So that's going to be pi times 25 over pi squared. The pi gets cancelled out and this 1 pi gets cancelled out. So that's 25 over pi. That is your area in meters square. Question 11 says, Alice record the number of cars going into a village on each of 80 days. The incomplete table and the incomplete box plot give information about her results. Least number is 300, median is 900, and the range is 1000. Lower quartile and upper quartile are missing. Use the information in the table to complete the box plot. So if the least value is 300, that's going to come over here. Maximum value can be found using the range. So range equals to max minus minimum. So that's 1000 equals to max minus 300. So that's 1000 plus 300 equals to maximum value, which is 1300. So we draw a line at 1300. This shows us our maximum value, maximum, minimum. So now we connect the upper quartile and lower quartile to our maximum minimum value. And this is our box plot. We have to plot the median as well. So median is 900. So that's over here. And your box plot is complete. This is your median. This is your lower quartile. And this is your upper quartile. Use the information in the box plot to complete the table. So your lower quartile is going to be 780. And your upper quartile is going to be 1200. Then it says on some of these 80 days, Alice saw fewer than 1200 cars going into the village. Work out an estimate for the number of days Alice saw fewer than 1200 cars going into the village. Since 1200 is our upper quartile. So upper quartile is 3/4 of our total number, which is 80. So 3/4 is 4 ones are 4. 4 times 20 is 80. So 3 times 20 is going to be 60. So 60 is the estimate of the number of days Alice saw fewer than 1,200 cars going into the village. Question 12 says a straight line and has equation 2y equals to 3x minus 7. Find an equation of the straight line perpendicular to L that passes through 6, negative 5. So we have 2y equals to 3x minus 7. Let's convert this into slope-intercept form by making y the subject, which means we'll divide both 3 and 7 by 2. Now, slope-intercept form is y equals to mx plus c. Hence, if we compare this equation to this one, we can see that m is 3 by 2. Now, if two lines are said to be perpendicular, that means the angle they're making at the intersection is 90 degrees. So this is L1 and this is L2. A condition for perpendicular lines is that gradient of line 1, which is M1, times gradient of line 2, which is M2, equals to negative 1. Which means over here, if the gradient of L1 is 3 by 2, so 3 by 2 times M2 equals to negative 1. M2 will be negative 1 times 2 over 3, and that is negative 2 over 3. So we have the gradient of the perpendicular line. They've given us the point. So let's use y equals to mx plus c again. Y is negative 5, m is negative 2 by 3, and x is 6 plus c. 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are 6. Negative 5 equals to negative 4 plus c. And negative 5 plus 4 equals to c, which is negative 1. So our equation will be, write this over here, y equals to negative 2 by 3x minus 1. C value is negative 1 and M value is negative 2 by 3. Question 13 says solid A and solid B are similar. The ratio of the height of solid A to the height of solid B is 2:5. The volume of solid A is 12 centimeter cube. Work out the volume of solid B. So in similar shapes, when you talk about the volume, your length of shape A divided by length of shape B whole cubed equals to the volume of shape A divided by the volume of shape B. That is the rule that we use. If you were talking about areas, then you would square the lengths instead of cubing them. So that would be area of A over area of B. That is the rule in similar shapes. So since we're talking about volume, we're going to focus on this. So height of solid A to height of solid B is 2:5. So 2 over 5 whole cube equals to 12, which is the volume of solid A divided by volume of solid B. So 2 cube is 8, and 5 cube is 125 equals to 12 over volume of B. Cross multiply to make volume of B the subject. So it's going to be 12 times 125 over 8. So we know 12 in it comes in the 4 times table. 4 times 3 is 12 and 4 times 2 is 8. Now if we do 125 times 3, that's 15, 1, 2 3s are 6 plus 1, 7, and 3 1s are 3. So 375 divided by 2. Now if we divide 375 by 2, 2 1s are 2, remainder 1, bring 7 down. So 17 divided by 2 is 8, 16, 1, 15, 2 7s are 14, minus 1.0, and that's going to be 5. So 187.5 centimeter cube is your volume of shape B. Question 14 says work out the value of 27 to the power of 2 over 3 plus 1 over 2 whole power negative 3. So we know 27 is 3 times 9 and 9 is 3 times 3. So that makes it 3 cube. So we can replace 27 with 3 cube. So 3 cube whole power 2 by 3 plus 1 over 2 whole power negative 3. Now, whenever we have a negative power, the only way to make it positive is to take reciprocal of the term. So when you take reciprocal of the term, 1 over 2, that's going to make it 2. So it becomes 2 cube now. 1 over 2 becomes 2. So if the power is negative 3, when you flip it, the power becomes positive. So now whenever there's a power outside the bracket and inside the bracket, we multiply the powers, which is again one of the rules of indices. And this is 2 cube. So 3 times 2 over 3 is 2. So 3 square plus 2 cube. Now 3 square is 3 times 3. And 2 cube is 2 times 2 times 2. So that's 9 plus 8, and that is 17. That's your answer. Question 15 says an object falls from rest. Here's the distance time graph for the distance d meters, fallen by the object t seconds after it starts to fall. Work out an estimate for the gradient of the graph at t equals to 3. You must show how you get your answer. So let's first mark t equals to 3 over here. We will make a line at t equals to 3. This is our line. So to find the gradient, I will use rise over run again. And I will make sure to pick whole numbers. So we can pick this point over here. And I'm going to pick this point over here. So my rise is 100 because we do 150 minus 50. And my run is that's 3.3. That is 7. So run is going to 7 minus 3.3, which is going to give us 3.7. So gradient is rise over run. That's 100 divided by 3.7. And that's going to give us 27.03. That is your estimate for the gradient of the graph at t equals to 3. Question 16 says, at the start of year n, the population of a species is Pn. At the start of the following year, the population of the species is given by Pn plus 1 equals to k times Pn, where k is a positive constant. The population of the species at the start of year 1 is 8 million, and at the start of year 2, it's 6 million. Work out the population of the species at the start of year 3. So if we substitute n equals to 1 in this equation, it's going to be P2 equals to K times P1. P2 is 6 million. K is what we're trying to find. And P1 is 8 million. So if we divide 6 million by 8 million, the millions get cancelled out, and 6 over 8 is basically 3 over 4, which is 0.75. So your equation will be Pn plus 1 equals to 0.75 times Pn. It says work out the population of species start of year 3. So we put n equals to 2. So P3 equals to 0.75 times P2. So 0.75 times 6 million. So since million was already given over here, so we just multiply 0.75 by 6. 6 5s are 30, carry the 3. 7 6 are 42 plus 3, 45, carry the 4. Decimal comes down as it is. 6 zeros are 0 plus 4. So 4.5 million. That is your population of the species at the start of year 3. At the start of the year 5, the value of k is increased by 0.3 to a new constant value. Louise thinks that from the start of year 5, the population of the species would increase year on year. Is Louise correct? So previously we had 0.75 as the value of k. If that's increased by 0.3, that's going to become 1.05. That is the new value of k. New value, old value. So formula was Pn plus 1 equals to k times Pn. If k is replaced by a bigger value, which is 1.05, obviously your population will increase because previously we were multiplying it by 0.75. Now the multiplier is 1.05. So since you're multiplying the population by a bigger number, the population will increase. So yes, Louise is correct. Question 17 says factorize 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. So step 1 is to multiply the coefficient of x squared and the constant. So 6 times 4 is 24. Step 2 is to find the factors of 24. So 24 is 2 times 12, 8 times 3, 6 times 4, and 24 times 1. Step 3 is to choose that set of factors which when added or subtracted gives the middle term, which is 5x. So we know 12 plus 2 is 14 and 12 minus 2 is 10. So that's wrong. We know 8 plus 3 is 11, but 8 minus 3 is 5, so we could use that. 6 plus 4 is 10, 6 minus 4 is 2. So that's also wrong. And 24 and 1 would also be wrong because 24 minus 1 is 23 and 24 plus 1 is 25. So we're going to replace 5 with 8 and 3. So basically, when I say replace, we're going to rewrite the equation as 6x squared minus 8x plus 3x. And minus 4 comes as it is. Basically, minus 5 is the same as negative 8 plus 3. So when we talk about replacing the middle term, what we're doing is we're replacing it by numbers which when added or subtracted give us the middle number, which in this case was negative 8 plus 3. So 6x squared minus 5x minus 4 becomes 6x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 4. Now that we have 4 terms in the quadratic equation, we can easily factorize it by grouping the equation. So we're going to make 2 groups. This is the first group, and this is the second group. And we're going to factor these groups separately in the next step. So between 6x squared and 8x, we have 2x common. So in the bracket, we'll have 3x minus 4. And between 3x and minus 4, we have plus 1 common. So that's going to be 3x minus 4. Now between 2x and 1, we have 3x minus 4 common. So in the other bracket, we'll have 2x plus 1. And that is your factorized answer. Part B says hence or otherwise solve 6x squared minus 5x minus 4 less than 0. So we're going to use the same factors, but now we're going to write it as an inequality. So when you have quadratic inequalities, first step is to make a rough graph. So negative 1 over 2 will come over here, and 4 over 3 will come over here. This is your quadratic graph. So it says less than 0. When it says less than 0, that means they're saying we're looking at the values of y less than 0. Because this basically was a factorized version of this, and this is giving us the values of y. So y is less than 0, y is less than 0 beneath the x-axis, which is over here and over here for the graph. So now, since we've decided where the y values lie, which we're focusing on, now we need to look at the behavior of the x values. At x equals to negative 1 over 2, your values of x are going in this direction, which means they're increasing. At x equals to 4 over 3, your values of x are going in this direction, in this chosen area, and they're decreasing. So over here at -1/2, they're increasing. And at 4/3, they are decreasing. Now, since both the limits are converging, that means we need to write the range of values as a combined range, which means x is less than 4/3, but it is greater than -1/2. This is your final answer. If your inequality was greater than 0, then you would have looked at the area above the x-axis, which is this part. So in this case, your values of x were diverging. X at -1/2 was decreasing and x at 4/3 was increasing. So for greater than 0, it would have been x is less than -1/2 and x is greater than 4/3. And since the values were diverging, so you would write it as separate inequalities, not like a combined range. Question 18 says spinner A and spinner B are each spun once. The probability that the spinner A lands on red is 1/4, and the probability that both spinner A and spinner B land on red is 1/24. Work out the probability that one spinner lands on red and the other spinner does not land on red. So let's make a tree diagram. So this is for spinner A and this is for spinner B. And this is red and not red, red, not red, red, not red. So probability that spinner lands on red is 1/4. The probability that both spinner A and spinner B land on red is 1/24, which means we'll be looking at the root from this to this. So that's going to be 1/4 times x, because we don't know what the probability is over here. That equals to 1/24. Remember, when you're going along branches, you multiply, but if you're going across them, you would add. So 1/4 times x is going to be x equals to 4/24, which is 1/6. Cross multiply, so 4 comes over here, gets divided by 24. That equals to 1/6. So this is 1/6. So if this is 1/6, that means this will be 5/6, because the probability of not being red is going to be 1 minus 1/6, which is 5/6. This would be 3/4. This would be again 1/6, and this is 5/6. Now that we have our probability sorted out, it says work out the probability that one spinner lands on red and the other does not land on red. So if you use a different color for that, one spinner lands on red and the other doesn't, so that's this root. One doesn't land on red and the other does, that's this. So that's going to be 1/4 times 5/6 plus, because we're going across, now the second branch would be 3/4 times 1/6. So as you can see, when you went along the branches, I multiplied. As soon as you went across the branch for 3/4 times 1/6, this is an OR option. So when it's an OR option, like either it's going this way or that way, so OR is always replaced by addition. If it's AND, it's replaced by multiplication. That's why it's 1/4 times 5/6, or, which means plus 3/4 times 1/6. So that's going to be 5/24 plus 3/24. We have similar denominators, so we can add the numerator. So that's 8/24. Should be simplified to 1/3. Question 19 says, here's the graph of y equals to sine x for -180 to 180. Use the graph to find the estimate for the solution of sine x equals to 0.3. So 0.3 is going to come over here. So corresponding x values are, it's going to be around 162, and this is going to be 18. Why? Because from 0 to 90, there are 3 big boxes. So 90 divided by 3 is going to be 30. So between 30, the small 5 boxes, so 30 divided by 5 is 6. So each small box equal to 6 units. So this is the third box, so 3 times 6 is 18. And this is your 30, 40, 30, 35, 40, 46, 47. So 47 times 6 is 162. So that's why we have 18 and 162 over here. So x equals to 18 and x equals to 162. Then it says write down a value of x such that sine of x plus 20 equals to 0. So for x plus 20, basically we have this horizontal translation because we're directly adding something to x. So if it's plus, that means you move 20 degrees to the left. Remember, for like values being added or subtracted to x, the rule is different. If you add a value directly to x, you move towards the left side, that many units. And if you subtract a value from x, you move that many units to the right-hand side. So we'll shift the graph 20 degrees to the left. Actually, we can do it without sketching the graph as well. Yeah, so we know it's sine x equals to 0. We know the values are 0 and 180 and negative 180. So for sine x plus 20, we're going to move 20 units to the left side, which means it's going to be negative 20. This would be 160 because 180 minus 20 is 160. And this would be negative 200. So the only value that goes over here is negative 20 and 160. So that is our answer. Question 20 says, here is a triangle ABC. Find the size of angle ABC. This is the angle that we need to find. So since we have all three lengths, we can use cosine rule. So that's going to be AC square equals to AB square plus BC square minus 2 times AB times BC times cos of angle B. So that's going to be 5 root 7 whole square equals to 10 square plus 5 square minus 2 times 10 times 5 times cos of angle B. 5 root 7 whole square is going to be 25 times 5. 5 gets squared and square of square root is the number itself. 100 because 10 times 10 is 100. 5 times 5 is 25. 2 times 10 times 5 is 100 as well. So 25 times 7 is going to be 175. That's 125 minus 100 cos of angle B. Remember to solve this part separately. Do not directly subtract 100 from this. Why? Because 100 is being multiplied to cos of B. If you directly subtract 100 from 125 and then try to solve it, your answer would be completely incorrect. So remember, 100 is being multiplied to cos B. So you can't just subtract it directly from this. You will bring 125 to the other side like I do. So that would be 175 minus 125 equals to negative 100 times cos of B. That's going to be 50. And then you will divide it by negative 100 to get rid of the negative 100 with cos of B. You cannot subtract it. That's going to be negative 1 over 2 equals to cos of angle B. So if you know the unit circle, cos inverse of negative 1 over 2, that's basically equal to 120. Because if you draw the unit circle, negative 1 over 2 comes in the second quadrant. And the second quadrant, your cos is negative. So it's going to be 120. This entire angle that we make, that's going to be 120. Question 21 says, on the grid, draw the graph of x squared plus y squared equals to 169. And use your graph to find estimates for the solution of the simultaneous equation x squared plus y squared equals to 169 and 2y equals to 3x. So this is an equation of circle, which is given as x minus h whole square plus y minus k whole square equals to r square. R is your radius and h and k represent your coordinates of the center. Since it's x squared plus y squared, that means center is 0, 0. And radius is going to be square root of 169, which is 13. Using your ruler, you will draw a line of 13 centimeters. I'm doing a very rough thing because I can't do it with the ruler over here. But you draw a circle with the radius of 13 centimeters using your ruler. And you will draw your complete circle over here. This is so not correct. But I think because this is 13 over here, this is 13 over here. So yeah, and this is your center. 13 over here and 13 over here. These are your 4 points. So using your protractor, yeah, you can just make your circle. But almost there. So it's going to be something like this. And then it says, use your graph to find an estimate for this. So they've given us another equation, which is 2y equals to 3x, which means y equals to 3 by 2x. If you look at 3 by 2, that's your gradient. So that's your rise over run. So there's a rise of 3. So that's 3 over here. And there's a run of 2. So this is your line. So if we draw a line based on this. Yep. So that's your line. 2y equals to 3x. So the intersection points between the circle and the line give us the solution. 7.4 or something. Once again, it's an estimate, and since my graph is like really tiny, I can't see that well. And the other value will be over. This is I'm getting as negative 7.9 or something, or 8. So yeah, but once again, since my circle isn't accurate, so these are not going to be the exact values. Once you draw it correctly on a grid, you would know what your exact value is, especially once your circle is correct, because mine is not passing through 13 over here. So anyhow, like this is how you would find your values. But you need to remember one thing, that x is being squared and y is being squared, which means if one value of x is negative 7.8, there's going to be a positive 7.8 as well. And if one value is 7.4, there's going to be a negative value as well. So there are going to be 4 solutions. Why? Because x is being squared. Then question 22 says, the second term of a geometric sequence is 3 plus 2 root 2. And the third term is 13 plus 9 root 2. Find the value of the common ratio of the sequence. So for this, you need to remember that in a geometric sequence, common ratio is found by dividing 2 consecutive terms. So your n plus 1 term is being divided by n. So that means the bigger term is being divided by the smaller term. Like for example, if you have u1, u2, u3, u4, you would divide u4 by u3 or u3 by u2 or u2 by u1. That's how you find the common ratio. So over here, we divide the third term by the second term, which is 13 plus 9 root 2 over 3 plus 2 root 2. So when we're dividing surds, basically we're trying to rationalize them. And as the format says, it has to be the rationalized form. So 13 plus 9 root 2 over 3 plus 2 root 2. When we rationalize this, we multiply the fraction by the conjugate of the denominator. So when I say the word conjugate, what I mean is that, for example, if the originally your complex number is 1 minus root 2, so the conjugate would be 1 plus root 2. What we do is we change the sign in the middle. If it's positive, it becomes negative, or vice versa. So that's why we're multiplying and dividing the fraction by 3 minus 2 root 2. So we multiply the numerator with the numerator and the denominator with the denominator. So that's going to be 3 plus 2 root 2 times 3 minus 2 root 2. So now if you look at the denominator, this should remind you of difference of perfect squares, where we talk about a square minus b square equals to a minus b times a plus b. So we're here, a is 3, b is 2 root 2, because we're doing 3 plus 2 root 2 times 3 minus 2 root 2, which means we can rewrite that as 13 plus 9 root 2 over 3 minus 2 root 2 divided by 3 square minus 2 root 2 square. Once again, difference of perfect squares is like, it's always applied actually when you're rationalizing a surd. So whenever you're multiplying the conjugate with the original one is positive and one is negative. So when you multiply it, it resembles the difference of perfect squares. So you rewrite it as a square minus b square, where a is the first term and b is the second term. So now when you solve it, we can expand the numerators as well. So that's going to be 13 times 3 minus 2 root 2 plus 9 root 2 times 3 minus 2 root 2 divided by 3 square is 9. 2 root 2 whole square is going to be 4 times 2. Because we do 2 square, distribute the power, 2 gets squared, that's 4. And square of a square root is the number itself, which is 2 over here. So 4 times 2. And that's going to be 13 times 3 is 39 minus 26 root 2 plus 9 root 2 times 3 is 9 root 2 times 3 is 27 root 2 and minus 9 times 2 root 2 is 18 root 2 divided by 9 minus 8, and I'm running out of space. This was squared. 18 root 2 square, yeah. Because 9 root 2 times 2 root 2 is 9 times 2 is 18, and root 2 times root 2 is root 2 squared. So that's 39. 26 minus 26 root 2 plus 27 root 2 is positive root 2. And once again, square of root 2 is going to be 2. 18 times 2 is 36 over 1, which I'm going to continue with, which is going to be 3 plus root 2. That is your answer. Because 39 minus 36 is 3, and root 2 comes as it is, and 3 plus root 2 divided by 1 is 3 plus root 2.